Hello everyone, it's April Garwood from Banana Moon Studio. In this video, I am going to be showing you how to make my Tribby triangle scarf. I'll share a photo of it here with you. My original scarf was made mostly in pinks. Today I'm going to be demonstrating for you in this pretty colorway of Cascade Yarns Heritage 6 hand paints. I used the same yarn for both the original scarf and this one that you see here. They're just different colors. That is a sport weight yarn, and you just need one skein of it to make this pretty triangular neck scarf. So to begin, we will start with a slip knot. And I'm using a size J or 6mm crochet hook for the scarf. We're going to start by chaining 8. All right, our first row is going to be the right side of our project. We'll double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, and 3. I'll go under both loops of that chain to double crochet. And note that the first 2 chains over here that I skipped, those do not count as a stitch. I'm going to skip the next chain, and so that's not this big open hole by my right thumb, but the one over here by my left thumb. I'll skip that, and then I will V-stitch in the next chain. So I'm going to go under both loops. V-stitch is just 2 double crochet stitches in the same place. They kind of look like a V if you split them open at the middle, so that's why we call that V-stitch. So I'll go right back in the same place and work a second double crochet stitch. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to skip this chain and V-stitch in the next one. And then I will double crochet in the last chain. All right, and that has left me with 2 V-stitches and 2 double crochet stitches. I'm going to turn, and now I will chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, V-stitch in both V-stitches. So when I make a V-stitch, these 2 double crochet stitches right here, when I stitch into that, I'm going to go in the space between those double crochet stitches and place 2 double crochet stitches there, because again, V-stitch is putting 2 double crochet stitches in the same place. So that's what it's going to look like when I place a V-stitch inside of another. So I'll do the same thing between these 2 double crochet stitches. Now I want to point out that these 2 double crochet stitches are in the same place, so that makes them a V-stitch, and that's where I'm going to place the V-stitch above them. These 2 are in the same place, so I'm going to put a V-stitch in between those, but I'm not going to stitch in between these 2 because they're part of 2 separate V-stitches. So you're not going to work in this space, you're going to go into that one, between the 2 stitches that are worked into the same place. And then double crochet in the last stitch. Remember, this beginning chain 2, that doesn't count as a stitch, so we won't work into that. We'll place it in the top of the double crochet stitch. Okay, and then we're going to turn. For row 3, we'll start with a chain 4, And we're going to double crochet in the third chain from the hook. I'm going to kind of turn my piece over to get to the 2 loops of that third chain, because that's where I want to place it. And then I'm going to V-stitch in the next chain, that's right here. Again, you want to go under the front and back loops. So V-stitching here means 2 double crochet stitches in the same place. Okay, and then we are going to skip this double crochet stitch and V-stitch in the next V-stitch. So these 2 double crochet stitches that are in the same place, I'm going to work between them. And then I am going to chain 2, skip the next V-stitch, so that's these 2 double crochet stitches, and double crochet in the last stitch. So I've left a hole there. Now I'm going to turn. I'm going to chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, chain 2, skip this chain space, and V-stitch in the last 2 V-stitches. So in between these 2, I'm going to place a V-stitch. And in between these 2, I'm going to work a V-stitch. And then I am going to double crochet in the last stitch. So that's this one right here. This chain 2 over here does not count as a stitch. And then I'm going to turn. So here's what I have so far. I have finished row 4. For row 5 is going to begin the same way that we started row 3. We're going to chain 4, double crochet in the third chain from the hook. And remember, I kind of have to turn this piece to get to the front and back loops of that chain. And then V-stitch in the next chain, so that's this right here. Here's my V-stitch. Skip the next double crochet, that's right here. And then V-stitch in the next V-stitch. So in between these 2, I'm going to place another V-stitch. Now I'm going to chain 2, skip the next V-stitch, and double crochet at the beginning of the chain space. So that means that I want to go under this chain space, but over here on this side of it, instead of in the middle. Like so. Then I'm going to chain 2 and double crochet in the last stitch. So this chain 2 over here, that was my turning chain, that's not a stitch. So I'm placing it in the top of this double crochet. And then I will turn, and I'm ready for row 6. Chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, chain 2, skip the chain space and double crochet in the next stitch. So I'm skipping this chain space. I'm going to double crochet in here. Chain 2, skip the chain space and V-stitch in the last 2 V-stitches. So I'm skipping this. My next V-stitch is here. So I'm going to go right between those and place a V-stitch here. And then this V-stitch, going to work into the middle of that with another V-stitch. Double crochet in the last stitch here, and then I'll turn. So I've completed 6 rows. We're beginning at one of the side corners. You can see how we're already making this stair step pattern with our increases. We're going to continue increasing. We'll be going straight on this side and increasing on this side as we work to the center point. When we get to the center point, we're going to start decreasing and going back this way. So we're working from one side point all the way to the other. To begin row 7, we're going to chain 4. And then we're going to turn this a little to get to our 3rd chain. Double crochet here. Then a V-stitch in this next chain. And we will skip this double crochet stitch and put a V-stitch in between the 2 stitches of this V-stitch. Oops. Then we will chain 2, skip the next V-stitch and double crochet at the beginning of this chain space, so all the way on the right side of it. Then we will chain 2. We are going to skip this double crochet stitch and V-stitch in the center of this chain space. And then we will double crochet in the last stitch right here. And turn our work. For row 8, we're going to start with a chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, V-stitch in the first V-stitch, so in between these 2 double crochet stitches, that's where we're going to place this V-stitch. Then we will chain 2, skip the next chain space, double crochet in the next double crochet stitch, chain 2, skip the next chain space, and V-stitch in the last 2 V-stitches, so in the middle of this one and this one. And then we will double crochet in the last stitch, so in this one. And turn our work. Okay, so we have finished 8 rows. We're going to work 2 more to get our repeat thoroughly established, but you can kind of already see it at the start of each odd numbered row. We are beginning with the chain 4 and working double crochet and then a V-stitch. We skip the double crochet, place a V-stitch in here. Then we're going to have 2 chain spaces, and then we'll have a V-stitch. And as this gets bigger, we're going to have this edging with the lace, and the edging here is going to continue to move out more this way, and we'll have more V-stitches on this side of it. So the number of V-stitches we have over here is going to continue to get bigger as our edging continues to move this way. And then our even numbered rows pretty much mimic the row underneath them exactly. So you can see how we have double crochet, V-stitch, chain space, 2 V-stitches, and then a double crochet. So we're at the beginning of row 9. So this is an odd numbered row. We're going to begin with chain 4. And then our first double crochet stitch in the 3rd chain from the hook. And then a V-stitch in the next chain. And then skipping this double crochet and a V-stitch in the next V-stitch. Then we have our 2 chain spaces, so we chain 2. We'll double crochet right at the beginning of this chain space. We'll chain 2 again for our second chain space, but we are going to skip working in this double crochet and instead place a V-stitch in this chain space. Then we're going to V-stitch in this V-stitch right here, so in between the 2 stitches. And then we'll double crochet in our last stitch. So that is how every odd numbered row is going to go from here through getting to our center point, except that we'll continue to have more and more V-stitches on this side. Let's turn, and like I said, this even numbered row is going to exactly mimic the row underneath it. So we'll put a double crochet in this double crochet. We'll V-stitch in both of these V-stitches. We'll place chain spaces on top of both of these chain spaces. So a chain 2, then double crochet in the stitch between the 2 spaces. And chain 2. And then we'll V-stitch in these 2 V-stitches. And we'll double crochet in the final double crochet stitch. So that establishes our increase pattern. And I say this is the increase pattern because it's going to continue increasing until we arrive at the center point. So I've just already explained to you what the repeat pattern is. You're going to continue working in that for a total of 48 rows, counting from the very beginning. If you would like to have the written pattern for this scarf, you'll find that at the link in the description for this video. That free pattern is available on my website. There's also an option to purchase an inexpensive PDF of the written pattern if you would prefer that. So I am going to work just a few more rows. I'm not going to do the full 48. And after I've done a few more to thoroughly establish the repeat, I'm going to come back to this video and go ahead and show you what the decrease pattern looks like. I've worked just a few more repeats of the increase pattern, and you can see how, like I pointed out, the number of V-stitches that we have over on this side continues to increase, and that will just continue all the way to the center point. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to work the same number of increase rows that you will to make the scarf. So I want to go ahead and show you how we begin the decrease pattern. So in the written pattern, row 49 is where we actually begin decreasing. Obviously, I have not worked 49 rows, but it will still work out just fine for me to demonstrate with this smaller piece. To begin, once you have worked your 48 rows, you'll chain 1 here, and then slip stitch in the first 3 stitches. So that's going to be in this double crochet stitch. And for the purposes of this, we're actually looking at the tops of these 2 double crochet stitches that are part of this V-stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch in both of those. And then I am going to chain 2. This chain 2 is not being counted as a stitch. I'll double crochet in the same stitch that I worked the last slip stitch into. Then I am going to V-stitch in this V-stitch, so in the center. Then I will V-stitch in the center of this chain space. Then I will chain 2, skip the next double crochet, and double crochet on the left side of this chain space, so all the way to this side. And then I will chain 2, skip the next V-stitch, and then V-stitch in all of the remaining V-stitches. So I'll skip this one and work into the center of this one. And then I'll go ahead and V-stitch in all of the remaining ones. So for me, that's this one and this one. If you have worked all the way to the center point of this triangular scarf, the full-size version, you'll have quite a few more V-stitches here. And then I will double crochet in the last stitch right here. So that's going to be each odd numbered row in our decrease pattern is going to work like this. Then for row 50, we're just going to mirror the row under it again, just like we've been doing with all of our even numbered rows. So I'll chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, V-stitch in each V-stitch to the first chain space. So for me, that's going to be these 3. If you're working the full-size scarf, there will be more. I am going to chain 2, skip the chain space, and double crochet in this stitch. Chain 2, skip the chain space, and V-stitch in the last 2 V-stitches. And then double crochet in the last stitch. And turn. So our decrease pattern, you can see how we've had this stair step increasing this way. Now we're going to do stair step decreases this way. So each odd numbered row is going to be the start of our decrease, and each even numbered row is going to mirror that. So I begin again, chain 1, slip stitch in the first double crochet, and then in the tops of these 2 stitches of the V-stitch. Chain 2, double crochet in the same place where I worked that last slip stitch. Then we always have 2 V-stitches on this side of our chain spaces. So I'm going to place one of those here in this V-stitch. And then the second one is going to go in this chain space in the center of it. Then we always have 2 chain spaces. So I'll chain 2, and then I'm going to place my double crochet stitch all the way to this side of the second chain space. And chain 2. And I'll skip this first V-stitch and V-stitch in all the others. And then I'll double crochet in the final stitch. Again, this next row is going to mirror the one right underneath it, so you're just going to place double crochets and double crochets, V-stitches and V-stitches all the way across. So in the written instructions, I encourage you to use a locking stitch marker to mark the very first decrease row. I forgot to mention that. The purpose of that is just so that as you are counting rows, you'll be able to know where to start your count, but it's from this first decrease row. So you're supposed to work the decrease pattern for a total of 38 rows beginning with this marked row, or the first decrease row. At that point, when you have worked the 38 rows of decrease, you're going to be left with 4 V-stitches and 2 chain spaces. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 V-stitches and 2 chain spaces. So for the rest of the rows, I have specific instructions for those rows, just because things get a little bit different. you're accomplishing the same thing, but as we start to run out of V-stitches on this side, I just wanted to have more specific instructions for those rows. So for this is going to mimic row 87 of the full-size scarf. So what that's going to look like then is chain 1 and slip stitch in the first 3 stitches. And then we're going to chain 2, double crochet where we placed the last slip stitch, V-stitch in this V-stitch, V-stitch in the center of the next chain space, chain 2, skip the double crochet, and double crochet on the left side of the next chain space. So here, chain 2, skip the next V-stitch, and V-stitch in the next one. Then double crochet in the last stitch. And then turn. Row 88, we're going to chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, V-stitch in the first V-stitch, so in between these two, chain 2, skip the next chain space and double crochet in the stitch between the 2 chain spaces, chain 2, skip the next chain space and V-stitch in the last 2 V-stitches, double crochet in the last stitch, and turn our work. For row 89, we're going to begin the same way. Chain, slip stitch in the first 3 stitches, chain 2, double crochet in the same stitch where we placed the last slip stitch, V-stitch in the next V-stitch, V-stitch in the next chain space, then we will chain 2, skip the next double crochet and double crochet on the left side of the next chain space, then we will chain 2, skip the next V-stitch and double crochet in the last stitch. So now we don't have any V-stitches left on this side of our open work or edging. For row 90, we'll turn, chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, chain 2, skip the next chain space and double crochet in the stitch between the chain spaces, chain 2, skip the next chain space, V-stitch in the last 2 V-stitches. And then double crochet in the last stitch right here. And we'll turn our work. For row 91, we will chain 1, slip stitch in the first 3 stitches, chain 2, double crochet in the same stitch where we placed the last slip stitch, V-stitch in the next V-stitch, V-stitch in the next chain space, chain 2, skip the next double crochet and double crochet on the left side of the chain space, the second chain space, and then double crochet in the last stitch. So we only have 1 chain space now. We're on our way to not having any chain spaces left. For row 92, again, we're going to mirror the row we just did. So chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, chain 2, skip the next chain space, V-stitch in the last 2 V-stitches, so both of these, double crochet in the last stitch, and turn our work. For row 93, we'll chain 1, slip stitch in the first 3 stitches, chain 2, double crochet in the same stitch as the last slip stitch, V-stitch in the next V-stitch, V-stitch in the center of the chain space, double crochet in the last stitch, so now we have just 2 double crochets and 2 V-stitches. We'll turn our work, and row 94 is the final row. We're going to chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, V-stitch in both V-stitches, double crochet in the last stitch here, and then at that point you will fasten off. So I'm going to lay this out and show you what we have. Of course, yours will be much bigger, And this section of V-stitches will become much deeper and much longer as you go. But you can see how our increase pattern gave us this stair-step look to our edging, and then our decrease pattern gave us a stair-step look to our edging on this side. But we were able to create the edging as we crocheted the rest of the shawl. So there's no going back afterwards to add an edging. And you're going to be working as we did from one side point to the other side point. That is the Tribby triangle scarf. You can find the free written pattern on my website. The link to that is in the description for this video. I hope you have a lovely day and enjoy making this one skein project.